Day 12 of 365 focused on Kadane's algorithm, and what helped most today was treating it as a state management problem instead of a magic formula. The goal is not to think about every possible subarray. The goal is to define the right running state. At each index, I want to know the best subarray that must end here, and I also want to remember the best answer I have seen anywhere so far. Once I see the problem that way, the core decision becomes very clean. Should I extend the previous run, or should I restart at the current value? If the previous running sum is helping, I keep it. If it is hurting, I drop it and start fresh. That local restart logic is the whole heartbeat of Kadane's algorithm. The elegance comes from how little state it needs to stay correct. That made the maximum subarray problem feel much lighter. I do not need nested loops, and I do not need to compare every start and end pair. I only update two ideas as I move forward. The best subarray ending at this position, and the best subarray seen anywhere in the array. One is local, one is global. Keeping those roles separate made the algorithm much easier to explain. Another useful shift today was realizing that Kadane is a nice example of dynamic programming without much ceremony. There is still a recurrence. There is still state. But the state is tiny and the update rule is intuitive. That is helpful because it makes dynamic programming feel less like a special category and more like careful reasoning about what information I need to carry forward. The maximum circular subarray problem made the topic more interesting. If the best subarray wraps around the end of the array, I can think of it differently. Instead of directly finding the wrapped answer, I can take the total array sum and subtract the worst middle segment. That turns the circular case into a complement problem. I am not searching for what to keep first. I am identifying what should be excluded. I like that transformation because it shows how the same core idea can survive in a different framing. I still do one pass. I still track running state. But now I use a minimum subarray version of the logic to identify the bad segment in the middle. Once I have that, the wrapped best answer becomes total sum minus that worst block. The most important edge case today was when every number is negative. In that situation, the circular trick can break if I use it blindly, because subtracting the worst middle segment from the total can collapse into an invalid answer. The correct result, there is simply the least negative single element. That is a great reminder that named algorithms are only reliable when I still understand what each variable means. Another reason this day mattered is that Kadane teaches how local and global state can work together. The local state asks what the best run ending here looks like. The global state asks whether that local run is the best thing I have seen anywhere so far. That pattern shows up again and again in array and DP problems. Once it clicks here, a lot of later recurrent-style questions feel less mysterious. This also made me think differently about brute force. Brute force considers every possible subarray because it has no memory. Kadane avoids that explosion because it preserves exactly the memory that matters and throws away the rest. That is a useful design lesson in general. Good algorithms are often not about remembering everything. They are about defining the smallest state that still preserves the best next decision. So my main takeaway from day 12 was that Kadane's algorithm is really a lesson in restart logic and state design. Maximum subarray sum becomes a question of extend or restart. The circular version becomes a question of total minus worst middle segment. The edge cases keep the logic honest. That is what made today useful. The algorithm stopped feeling like a famous trick to memorize and started feeling like a compact, explainable way to manage local and global information in one pass.